is the problems that are in Fukushima. The contamination, the lack of fish, the loss of fishing and food, the worry and the social distress in
The worry,
Japan.
yeah, because it also causes anxiety as well, doesn't it? And also it costs money to actually sort of like for the doctors and psychiatrists to deal with the problem as well. So it's going to cost them a lot more money in the long run, isn't it?
The trouble is they're not even measuring properly. They can't tell the effects because they're not measuring the proper things to see what the long-term health effects will be.
Yeah. No.
There's a small amount of sampling being done of the children who've been born during that time and the people under 18 at that time, but the thyroid cancers in the future are something to be watching carefully over the next 5, 6, 10 years.
Yeah.
Cancer takes a long time to show itself.
Yeah.
It's not an instant, you don't instantly see the effects of the radiation. But as I say, the authorities in TEPCO, for years and years, they ignored the warnings. And they still denied, when the accident took place, they still denied the fact that they had meltdowns. It's only 2 or 3 months later that they actually accepted, yes, we do have a meltdown in 3 of our reactors.
Yeah.
But for months they just denied it. They wouldn't tell the world.
Yeah.
They said, oh, it's all right, we've got it under control.
A cover-up.
Yeah. But the trouble is there's too much connection in Japan between big business of the energy companies.
So it's money, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or is it evil people as well, do you think, who are involved?
People who are only interested in money, they don't think of the effects on the environment and the people.
But are these people, do you think these people are also evil as well? Because they're not actually taking human people's health into consideration, aren't they? So you could consider them as...
It's criminal, and that's why TEPCO are being sued by thousands of Japanese people, like Namu, what's the name of the place? Nami, that's right. The mayor of Nami moved all his population of his town when they discovered that these explosions were taking place at the reactors, the hydrogen explosions. And to move his town out of what they thought was the radiation zone, they moved it to the south, to the north. And normally the winds would blow towards the sea to the south. But what actually happened was that even though the officials and the council officials knew from their readings that the weather was blowing the other way, he'd moved his town into an area that was taking the full blast of the radiation exposure. So that's why those people are all suing TEPCO now.
Right.
TEPCO, of course, is now nationalised now because it can't afford to pay the compensation to the hundreds of thousands of people for losing their homes, their farms, their businesses.
So is it making Techno bankrupt then because of it?
Technico has just had to ask and borrow money, all the Japanese taxpayers' money from the government, because it's saying itself it would take 40 years to try and clean and tidy up the reactors, but that's a big understatement. That is.
So is it making them financially bankrupt then because of it, because of what's happened? Because they've got to pay out all these payments.
The government, through the taxpayers' money, are bailing them out.
Right.
Just like in this country, when Mrs. Thatcher privatised our nuclear power stations that we'd all paid for, and sold them off to British Nuclear Fuels, then they went bankrupt, and the government had to spend £5 billion bailing them out. And then they sold off what was left of them, the newest reactors, to EDF at a very dirt cheap price. And now EDF are making profits out of selling the electricity.
Is it true EDF have actually bought all the nuclear power plants in England?
Yeah. All the newest ones.
The newest ones.
The old ones they wouldn't buy.
Right.
nuclear power. I think it's totally unethical because it causes damage at every stage of the process, from the mining to the production and then to the waste, that we've got no way of dealing with the waste, and it's actually going to be causing harm to the planet for 100,000 years, and that we should never decide to do anything if we don't know the impact on our children, and that as a mother, and I will be a grandmother at some point, I'm really deeply concerned with what is happening now and how that's going to affect all the children from now on. It's a lethal industry.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
It's getting all like radioactive.
Well, again, what we're doing with the nuclear waste now is, I think it's a nice representation, is that we will be standing around the children, because it is our children, our children, our children's children, our children's children, children's children, until the rest of humanity will have to deal with this problem. So we're going to go and represent that by surrounding our own children here with nuclear waste barrels.
Last summer, I moved to live in the UK with my husband and 2 children. After the nuclear plant accident in Fukushima, radiation levels in food, especially in vegetables, meat, milk, mushrooms, and also water, increased a lot. Parents like me began to warn others about such products and called producers to provide data about radiation levels in food so that we can protect our children from radiation exposure and confirm it safely. Most children 15 years or younger eat a school meal in Japan every day. Food from radioactivity contamination area is sold in supermarkets and is used for school meals. The Japanese government should take much more care of the health of children, and they should only use absolutely safe food for school meals. Indeed, Japanese parents now have to search for safe food, especially for their children themselves, every day. When it rains, I have to make sure they are not exposed to the rain because it might contain increased levels of radioactive material. I often approached the school teachers so that a school makes sure students are not exposed to radiation. All this concern and extra care makes you quite tired. However, I cannot give up. Today, in Japan, there are many parents and children who need more help and support from the government. They should help children to move to areas where radiation levels are below 1 millisievert a year, but they don't. For this failure of the Japanese government, we need to criticize with a loud voice, respond to the request of the children in Japan. If you can, please support these children and their parents by inviting a Japanese child to a home stay in your house. If you know of any other possibilities for Japanese children to spend some time in the UK, please help Fukushima children. Dear all, please help us and ask the British government to put more pressure on the Japanese government to protect the children and adults from radiation exposure. Please lend a hand to empower the Japanese people, because the Japanese government is not doing enough. Please help so that Japanese parents and children can feel safe again. Thank you very much.